In this video, I want to explain a little bit of how I learned how focus always beats discipline. When you think of the term discipline, there's some things that most people think about. Eating well, dialing in your nutrition, getting up to work out, going to bed early, waking up early so you can get more things done. Overall, just consistency. So in almost every initial meeting that I have with a new athlete, we sit down and I ask them just one question. Why are you here? What makes you want to start working with me? What are you trying to get out of all this? And in almost every situation after we talk through some things, one of the things that they say is, I want to improve my discipline. I want to be disciplined. And I always chuckle a little bit because to no fault of their own, they think that discipline is just this thing that you just are, just out of no reason, you just become disciplined. And what they don't know is that there are different seasons in your life that can affect your level of discipline. In one season of your life, you can be as disciplined as you've ever been. You wake up early all the time. You have your nutrition dialed in. You always hit the gym. You excel in whatever it is that your craft is. But then in this next season of life, you're nothing like that, and in some cases you might even be lazy. So it just goes to show that discipline is a byproduct. It's focus that initially sparks the discipline, but it also sustains that energy for a longer period of time. Just think of it like this. You have this opportunity to attend this discipline seminar, and it's from 9 to 5. And in this seminar, you are guaranteed to walk away with a $100,000 check if you meet these 3 criteria. All you have to do is do these 3 things, and they'll sign a $100,000 check written to you. I know, it's weird, but stay with me. Number 1, you have to wake up at 5 a.m. and you have to get 3,500 steps by 6:30 a.m. Number 2, you're going to get an hour lunch break. You have to spend 45 minutes of that hour lunch break in the gym doing the workout that they give you. And number 3, you have to eat your body weight in grams of protein by 5 p.m. or by the end of the seminar. So in other words, if you weigh 180 pounds, you have to eat 180 grams of protein during that day, and it concludes at 5 p.m. Now, I bet without question, every single one of you would find the discipline to do these 3 things and probably have time to spare. You'll do exactly what you need to do to get that $100,000 check. So what exactly in this situation makes it different than just doing this on an everyday basis? Well, like I mentioned, it comes down to focus. You have a direct endpoint. You have this focus on, this is what I have to do to get to that goal. Without question, you totally immerse yourself in that and you are locked in. When it comes to building focus, I've got 3 keys for you. And this will in turn create the discipline that you're after. Number 1, move in a specific direction. Define a goal, narrow it down, and obsess about the details. When I first started out in my career, my goal was to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know what, I didn't know how. I just knew that I wanted to build something. I wanted to put my work into something and basically create my life's work. So in order to do that, I thought I just had to build all these skills. You talk about sales and people skills and managing money, all these different skills that you think of when it comes to running a business. So I tried all these different things. I tried door-to-door sales. I started this Christmas light installation business. I even did this small business of cleaning gutters. In doing those, I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I would show up to customers' houses when I said I was going to show up. I would try to do the job as if it were my own house. I studied the market and, what are some things that I can do to help improve my situation in this business and my skills in the business. Now, keep in mind, this is at the same time that I started training athletes. So this was years ago. So just by that alone, you can kind of see that although I might have been building some skills here and there, I wasn't really focused in one direction. I was kind of just becoming more well-rounded and just business in general, but I really wasn't becoming great at anything. So eventually I just had to narrow it down to what I chose, what I liked best. I knew if I liked this the best, then I would eventually be able to sustain some energy to keep going simply because it's more interesting to me. So after I had stopped doing all those other things and I just focused on improving performance in athletes, I began obsessing about the details of that. How can I get this extra 1% out of these athletes, and how can I actually get them to reach their full potential? When I talk about obsessing about the details, I know that can be kind of vague, but what I mean here is that you start to learn the intricacies of the craft. I mean, this is where you really start to immerse yourself. You start learning at how things work on a deep level and whatever it is that you're trying to be good at. In my case, it's, why some things work for certain athletes and why those same things don't work for others. And as you continue to immerse yourself and obsess about these details, you start to realize it's very clear why some of these things work and some of these things don't. You start to learn the nuance of these things, and then you start to realize that just because a textbook says something doesn't mean that it is actually black and white. I know this is a very simple and straightforward concept, but you will not ever meet a disciplined person without a goal. There is literally nothing holding them to the standard to be disciplined. I was disciplined. I was doing all these things like I'd mentioned, but I wasn't focused. So you can see that you won't meet a very, very successful person that doesn't know the intricacies of their craft, that doesn't know the fine details. And this is all from focus. When I take you back to when I start with a new athlete, one of the questions I ask them is, why are you working with me? It at least gets us in a direction. It points us to a target. Now that target can be broad at the beginning, like mine was, I want to be an entrepreneur, but you narrow it down as you kind of go in the general direction. It can be as vague as I want to be a leader or I want to be a role model. Okay, we've got a direction. So there are some traits that come with that, but to be more specific and to learn really more of the nuance and the craft of it, you have to further define, what does that look like? Once you have that focus and that clear direction of exactly what you want, you're going to start to develop the traits that'll get you there, the discipline, because you're excited to learn about it. But the fact is, if you have this focus, this clear goal, this clear direction that you're following, you're going to naturally develop these traits. You're going to learn these small details that really take you from good to great. And it's all going to be a result of discipline, which you would have never had if you did not have that focus. The second way for you to build focus and create that discipline you're looking for is to eliminate energy drainers. Now, I say the term energy drainers because this encompasses a lot of things. But when I talk about this, I'm talking about things that are like distractions, negative people, bad influences, processed food. The list goes on and on and on. You can tell all of these things will drain your energy. Now, the easiest way to figure out, is this energy drainer actually depleting me, is to ask yourself, is this benefiting me or is this creating more stress by being in my life? If you're looking for maximum focus and the strongest adherence to discipline, you're going to have to make the tough call here. You have to be very cut and dry about this question. You can have these things in your life and still have discipline, but you truly can't have focus because all of these things, they just deteriorate your focus. You see it far too many times where you have this great athlete and they are the highest performer, but they have these bad habits of they hang out with the wrong people. They tend to drink on the weekends. They don't care at all about their recovery. And then you fast forward about 10 years later and they never did anything with their talent. They let these energy drains come into their life and rob them of their potential and thus never really reaching the end goal. They let these energy drains come in, cause them to lose focus, and ultimately just never ended up reaching their end goal. And then the third thing to build that focus and achieve that discipline you're looking for is to accept sacrifice. I'm sure you've heard this phrase all the time from high performers in business, sports, you name it, doesn't matter. You hear these people at the top of the game say, in order to get here, I had to sacrifice some things. Now, I mentioned when I first started out my career, I tried all these different things because I wanted to be good at all these things. But what I had to sacrifice was I can't be good at everything. I need to just be okay at some stuff in order to be great. That is one small example. If you want to be the best leader you can be, you're going to have to sacrifice the people that you hang out with. You're not going to be able to hang out with some people because people are going to start to associate you with these lower quality humans, to be quite honest. It comes down to immense focus and there is absolutely no way around it. You have to sacrifice. You can't be a Mr. Olympia if you're only eating cereal. You can't be an Olympic sprinter if you never run anything but long distance. You can't be a leader if you can't even show up on time. You have to do the things required to be that person. You got to determine the training program you want to be on. You got to determine the nutrition program, and you got to do these things. You got to do some of the things that don't really seem fun on the surface, but they will pay dividends when you start to achieve your goals. Then, like we talked about, you got to determine, are these things in my life keeping me from getting to my goal, or are they benefiting me? Are they helping me get to my goal? And then, most importantly, what are you going to do with that information? How are you going to respond? In the end, I think it's obvious by now that discipline is a byproduct of immense focus towards a goal. Total focus on a target. Instead of seeking discipline, look first to something that sets you on fire, that lights you up and makes you want to do something, makes you want to be better. Look for that end goal. I promise you, if you do that, you will not ever need to worry about discipline. It's going to happen. People are going to start looking at you and say, man, that is by far the most disciplined person I've ever seen. The funny thing is, you just do it. You're not even trying. So I coach athletes to perform at their highest level, both physically and mentally. We develop the psychological aspect of sport performance, but we also put you on the right training program to actually make sure that you hit your goal. It takes both to be great. If that sounds interesting to you, just reach out to me and we'll talk about how things work. I'll talk to you guys soon.